Alaska is one of the few states with no state income tax, and the state even pays you to live there. But how is Alaska able to do so? Unlike on other states such as New Jersey achieved the same thing. Well, firstly, it is crucial to understand why governments and states impose taxes. Now, it's a common misconception that governments actually profit by imposing taxes. However, that is not at all the case, with most countries and states having budget deficits. Instead, the government's revenue from taxes are often spent on improving roads and public transport so that transportation is easier, or it can be spent on funding public schools to ensure the younger generation can get their vital education. It is also used to pay the salaries of the police so that there is order within the state. Ultimately, you could say taxes are used by the state to improve their citizens' welfare or happiness. But does this mean that Alaska compromises on not improving their state by not issuing state income tax? Well, no, this is not at all the case. The real reason how Alaska is able to not issue any state income tax lies behind the spread of the state of Alaska's revenue. You see, New Jersey, which is infamous for having extremely high state income tax, has very few ways to generate revenue. Although the city does have lots of financial services and does have a vibrant fishing industry, providing $1 billion annually to the state's economy, the state does not have an abundant amount of natural resources, and the resources that they do have are mainly granite, gravel and sand, all of which are pretty plentiful enough and more importantly cheap. As a result of this, New Jersey is unable to get as much revenue from their natural resources, and so prior to adding up the state's revenue from taxes, the annual state budget is very low. Therefore, the state needs to apply taxes so that the state has enough money to pay the salaries, improve the transport, and all that stuff. This is made even worse when the state is an expensive state, and it costs more to maintain the infrastructure of the state and pay wages. And this is translated into higher tax. It is a combination of being an expensive state and having very few cheap natural resources that make it nearly impossible for states such as New York and Washington to have no state income tax. But still, why does Alaska have no state income tax? Well, simply, Alaska is pretty much the polar opposite of New Jersey. The state has an abundant amount of oil reserves, which results in 85% of the state's budget being supplied by oil revenues. And this revenue from oil is also supported by extremely large fishing industry in Alaska, due to the rich fishing waters where $6 billion of fish are harvested per year. All of this is resulting in a mammoth state budget year on year for Alaska, with a state budget of $8.3 billion in 2020. And this state budget is almost too much for Alaska. What I mean by this is that Alaska only has a population of 731,545 people as of 2019, and this population is minuscule compared to Texas's population of 29 million, or even Alabama's 4.9 million citizens. As a result of having such a small population, the state needs a lot less resources and infrastructure. For example, less schools have to be funded and there will be less salaries of police to pay, as there will be less police needed. Also, the inhabited section of Alaska is very small, and this, coupled with the small population, has meant that the annual spending on Alaska's transport can be kept low. Therefore, Alaska's state budget is high relative to how much they actually need to spend, so much so that they do not need any state income tax to help bolster the state's budget, and without any revenue through the state income tax, the state can still finance everything that they need to. However, this is not the case for other states like New Jersey or California, as the high population or having a lack of natural resources means that the state is reliant on income tax to provide the state with enough of the state budget to support the population. But even then, Alaska goes one step further, as they don't only have no taxes, they also pay their residents as part of the Alaska Permanent Fund. This fund allots an equal amount of the state's oil royalties to every resident who is part of this fund, and in 2021, the permanent fund dividend was $1,124. There is only one requirement in order to be eligible, and that's that you must be an Alaskan resident for at least a year before you apply for a dividend, and you also must intend to remain in Alaska indefinitely. So there you have it. This is why and how Alaskans not only pay no state income tax, but also get paid to live in Alaska. Thanks for watching this video. Feel free to like and subscribe. Goodbye.